The fourth largest religion in the world is known as Buddhism. It is a religion of peace and understanding, as well nobility and truth. 2,500 years ago, the son of a queen was about to be born. But on the night of the full moon, the Queen Maya experienced a dream, and in her dream, it told that a special being known as the Buddha will be born again. The story goes on to tell that 4 guardian deities of the world carried the queen up to the Himalaya mountains on her bed. They then anointed her with perfume and heavenly flowers. A white elephant with 6 tusks then descended from heaven, carrying a lotus flower in its trunk, and then entered her womb. Thus, the Buddha would be born of Maya. The boy was named Siddhartha Gautama, but after giving birth to her child, Queen Maya fell ill and died only days later. The family summoned priests to predict Siddhartha's future, and they found signs of a great being upon him, and his fate was told to be either a world emperor or a spiritual leader. But his father was keen on bringing him up as a great political leader and sheltered him from seeing the outside world. But at the age of 9, when Siddhartha was allowed outside the palace, he noticed the suffering present in the world, the tedious work done so he did not have to, and the agony that animals felt in the wild. He formulated a thought that everything was connected and all actions had consequences. This would be one of the cornerstones for his teachings, karma. But to curb this interest in understanding and philosophy, the Buddha's father attempted to form a perfect place to live, one which Siddhartha would never want to leave. And so, in his palace in India, he was surrounded by luxury. Every whim and desire was satisfied, and at the age of 16, his father found him a beautiful bride. His father was beginning to think palace life was finally suiting his son, but this was wishful thinking, and Siddhartha experienced his first glimpse at the outside world. He made 4 journeys and saw 4 signs. Each journey would reveal to him an aspect of life that had been hidden from him. On his first journey, he noticed an old decrepit man and was revealed the process of aging. Siddhartha then noticed a sick man and was revealed that all men can become sick. He then saw a corpse and was appalled to discover that all things die and are reborn, to suffer and die again and again. Lastly, he finds a beggar and wonders why anyone would want to give up luxury to wander the hillsides. But his servant explains to him that the man is seeking a greater understanding of the world. And after returning to his palace, he learned of the fantasy his life really was. Although his wife had just given birth to his child, Siddhartha knew he must leave the palace to seek greater understanding for himself. He exchanged his riches for rags and entered the outside world, alone for the first time. At this time in India, the world was in spiritual unrest. There were countless new spiritual leaders and religions popping up all over, but Siddhartha felt that the solution to life's suffering needed to be available to everyone, instead of an exclusive group. He searched for a way of life that overcame the suffering he had seen. He traveled around northern India, meeting teachers and gurus so that he could achieve this way of life he was searching for. He began to meditate and experiment with forms of fasting and religious practices, although he realized forcing your body to be one would not work. And one day, he came across a musician tuning his sitar and noticed that if he tuned it too tightly, it would snap, and if it was too loose, it would not play, and that only in the middle would the string play. And this simple realization led Siddhartha to understand that only this place in the middle could lead him to where he wanted to be, a state of tuneful harmony, known as enlightenment. After 6 years, Siddhartha had been in search of complete wisdom, but had failed to find it, until one day he found a tree and sat underneath it and vowed not to leave until he had reached enlightenment. He relinquished the pain and began to focus on the slow movement of his breath, coming in and out, and he began to become one. Siddhartha's mind was now so focused he could travel to every depth of his brain, and at this point, the demon Mara, lord of ego and illusion, appeared to him. This demon could make any illusion real in Siddhartha's mind, and Mara summoned an army of demons to attack him, firing flaming arrows at him, but he turned the arrows into lotus blossoms that fell harmlessly before him. Mara then tried to tempt him with his 3 daughters, but Siddhartha was able to easily overcome this, and at this point, Siddhartha realized that Mara was the personification of himself and his own temptations. and once he overcame this, he truly became the Buddha. He continued to stay under the tree for 7 days in absolute bliss. In this state, he realized that once desire is removed, dissatisfaction and suffering will be removed as well, and this became known as the birth of Buddhism. The Buddha summed up his wisdom in 4 noble truths, the foundations of all Buddhist beliefs. The first noble truth explains that there is suffering in life. The second noble truth discloses the cause of that suffering, which is desire. And the third reveals that there is a cure for desire. But the fourth and final truth, the Buddha explains this cure. It is known as the Eightfold Path and leads to enlightenment. In Buddhism, it is believed that everything has a unique spirit and continually lives, dies, and is reborn. This is the cycle of life. But to be born as a human is a rare chance that Buddhists believe should not be wasted. But if one achieves enlightenment in their life, when they die, they are not reborn. They achieve nirvana, the state of eternal bliss, free from suffering, death, and rebirth. The commandments of Buddhism are quite simple: morality, meditation, and wisdom. As well, Buddhists are taught not to indulge in acts of desire. If one practices these tenets, they may reach understanding for themselves and may finally become enlightened. The Buddha also taught of karma, which is the idea that all your good actions combined with bad in your previous life equate to how your new form will be. The worse your karma, the worse your next life. But the better the karma, the better life you will get. Buddhists believe that there was no creator and that the universe, in whatever form it may be, is eternal. Some Buddhists reject the idea of gods altogether, but even the Buddhists who do accept the realm of the gods claim that they are no more wiser than humans, simply live in a different realm, and they have suffering as well. There is no supreme god in Buddhism, and can be described by some as even non-theistic. Some question whether Buddhism is even a religion itself. Many describe it as a philosophy, simply a way of life. It does not focus on faith or belief, it focuses on truth. The Buddha returned to his palace, but he knew he must leave again. But before doing so, he ordained his son a Buddhist monk, and went on to teach his way of life for the next 40 years until dying at the age of 80. It is one of the world's first religions, and is practiced by around 400 million people around the world today. It is a religion where the path to serenity and understanding lies in the minds of each and every one of us.